Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing their first assignment for the week of May 4th. It's going to be a little different. We are going to go up to Skies Learn, but some of your answers you are going to be writing them on the side. So you are watching this video on edpuzzle, and whenever I pause the video, you will see a question on the side. You type your answer. Sometimes there'll be multiple choice, sometimes it's your own answer, and sometimes there is no wrong answer. It's just I want to know what you are thinking because we're not in class and I can't ask you guys for volunteers. Okay, so first question. You are seeing this picture over here. Pretend that you were kidnapped or you were taken by surprise, right? They're dropped off in a secret location and you need to find your own way home. You don't know how you got there, but you need to find your way home. On the side, write down what's the first thing you have to do to find your way home. Okay. So maybe what you said, and it doesn't matter whatever it is that you said, right? But one of the first things that you have to do in order to find your way home is to know where you are right now. You have to look around, see if there's something familiar, figure out, okay, I guess I got dropped off in New York City. Oh no, I got dropped off in the jungle, to the west, to the east. You have to know where you are, and that is context. Okay, and which brings us to the topic of our lesson, which is context clues. We already did a lesson on context clues when we were in school. Let me try to refresh your memory. First, we went over and we watched the video from Brain Pop. Remember, we said, oh, when you're looking at this picture, what's missing? Well, because of all the stuff that we already know in our heads, we could make a guess or an inference that there was a baseball there. And then there were a lot of different words. And we figured out that to figure out the meaning of words, you have to look at the context and what's around the word. We even came up with our strategy in which we said whenever we get to a tricky word that we can't pronounce or we don't know what it means, we just say blink in our mind. And our mind, our genius brain, will usually try to fill out the answer for us. If we just say blank, you can't pronounce or you don't know what it means, say blank. Okay. So we watched the video, and after that, we did this little worksheet because we also said there's different types of clues or context clues. So let's review. Let's get this out of the way, which we don't need right now. Let's review a different way, right? So we already did this. Let's go over context clues. What is it? Clues that are around the word to help us know what that unknown word is, right? And so let's go back over here. Whoops, not there. Over here. Pause. And let's talk about there are different types of clues. And when we were in class, I would have you kind of glue or create something like this, a little poster in which we could bigger, smaller, in which you could have for yourself to look at so you can remember, oh, there are four or even more different types of clues. Sometimes they tell me the word in the definition of the word, a synonym, antonym. So this is just for you to look at. This will always be there for you as notes. And if you are creative and you want to have something, because for you learning, you learn better when you write something and when you look at something that you can actually touch. I'm going to leave this up here or pause the video so you can copy this. I also have this second one, right, which we would have made in class if we were still meeting face to face. But let's talk about it. This is too fast and too much for you to look at one time. So let's go back and slowly. What are the different types? What different kinds of context clues can help me to figure out a tricky word or an unknown word? Right. So one of the first things is that in the sentence, the context clues around the word might give me an example of the word. And there's also words around the sentence that tells us, hey, 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 there's an example about to come out. So let's see. And there's going to be a question before I give you the answer. Remember, this would be our tricky word. It is underlined. Maybe some of you already know it, but pretend that you don't. So we're going to read the sentence and say blank whenever we get to that unknown word to try to guess what it is based on the context. Okay, let's read it. I got in trouble for not telling the truth last night, and my mom decided to blank all of my privileges. For example, I can't hang out with my friends until next week. Blank my privileges. Okay. Well, she got in trouble. What do parents do to your privileges when you get in trouble? And for example, they're about to tell us something that the An example of what revoke means. I can't hang out with my friends. Okay. So, right on the side, write down what you think revoke means. Say, revoke means blah, blah, blah. Write your guess. Okay. So revoke kind of means something like to take away, right? Let's fill that in instead of revoke, and let's see if that makes sense. My mom decided to take away all my privileges. For example, I can't hang out with my friends next week. That gave us a clue that it was something that got taken away, a privilege, right? Okay. Next, sometimes there is not going to be an example. There's going to be a synonym right next to, before, or after the unknown word. The sentence or the author might give you a synonym, a word that means the same thing. So let's see this sentence. Let's do the same thing. Okay, and here is our mystery word. Let's even pretend that we don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, so sometimes studying for a math test feels blank or useless because my scores never seem to improve all that much. Okay, definition or a synonym is right next to it. Feels blank or useless, or is telling me that this word and this word mean the same thing. So on the side, write down what you think the unknown word, what do you think futile means? Write it down. Okay, so I this one I'm sure it's easy, right? Futile means useless or not worth it because no matter this person is saying that no matter how much they study, it is useless, not worth it because not, their studying doesn't help. Okay, let's keep going. Another type of context clue is when the author gives you an antonym next to or close to the unknown word. So let's read this sentence. Remember, close to the unknown word, there's going to be an opposite word. And by figuring out what the opposite of the other word is, we will know what our mystery word is. Unlike my brother, who is blank and full of energy, I feel exhausted in the morning when I wake up. Now we're going to switch this question. You're not going to write down your guess yet. Instead of writing your guess, what is the clues in here in the story or text that tells us what is the opposite of boisterous? Now, what does boisterous mean? What is the clue in here that tells us what that helps us figure out the meaning of the sentence? Okay. So, from reading this, if I know that I'm looking for an opposite of boisterous, the clue that tells me what it is I feel exhausted in the morning. So, if exhausted means the opposite of blank word, then blank word is the opposite of exhausted. What's the opposite of exhausted? Write down your guess for the word boisterous or for the mystery word now. Okay, let's move on. So far we have sometimes the author might give us an example of the word. Sometimes the author might give us a synonym of the word. Our third context clue is sometimes the author might give us an antonym or something that means the opposite of the word. There are some more. This little worksheet doesn't keep going, so let's go back to Sky's Learn. This would be our little poster. Definition, got it. Word parts, antonyms, synonyms, example. So word parts. So let's combine word parts and inference. Sometimes it's not going to be an antonym, a synonym, or a definition, an example. Sometimes we just have to read what is around it and try to figure it out on our own. For example, sometimes even if you know what the word means, you have to see what is the correct use of the word. For example, the word park. Okay, if I say, tell me that you're going to write down on the side the definition of the word park, but I'm going to give you two sentences. So sentence number, let's say letter A. Letter A. I remember very fondly when my Parents used to take me to the park, and I would make friends and play in the with the with the other kids in the slide. What does park mean? Write it on the side. Okay. Next sentence. I'm also going to use the word park, but now I'm going to use it in a different context. So pay attention to the context clues around it and tell me what does park mean. Okay. Sentence B. I learned how to drive very easily and quickly, but it was so difficult for me to learn how to park my car without hitting anything. On the side, write down the definition of the word park based on the context clues that I gave you for sentence B. Let's do one more. Actually, not. Let's not. Let's move on. So far, you've answered 6 questions. Remember, don't give up if there is an unknown word. If you don't know how to pronounce it, you can say blank. Look around the words, look for clues. And something that we didn't mention before is look for the vibe or the feeling of the sentence. If it looks like they're talking about something that's mysterious and scary, then you know that the word probably has to do with something that's mysterious and scary. If they're giving you, if the sentence is all about little tiny little kids that are playing and figuring things out in the world, then you know that what they're talking that's what they're talking about. So the word that it's a blank, their mystery word that we're trying to figure out has to be related to everything around it. Okay. But again, my favorite thing for us to get used to doing is to just say blank, because your brain knows more than you know that you know. It will try to fill it up for you with something that makes sense. Our brain is also very good at knowing when something doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on. Question number 7. Use the context clues in the following sentences that I'm going to show you to try to figure out what the mystery word means. The mystery word will be taciturn. What do you think taciturn means? Joe is blank most of the time, but his sister is very talkative. What do you think the word taciturn means? Write it down. Okay, next question. You probably guessed what taciturn means. What made you figure out the meaning of the word taciturn? Was it because the sentence gave you the opposite? Was it because the sentence gave you an example? Did the sentence give you a synonym? Or did you guess? And if you guessed, what were the clues? Explain. Number 8, explain. How did you figure out what taciturn means? Let's move on. One more. Okay. For practice, you will later have to do some of these in worksheet by yourself. Context clues. Here we have our mystery word. Our remember, pretend you don't. If you don't know how to say it, it doesn't matter. Our brain doesn't care. We could just say blank, or we could say right. It is to win the game if we want to make it to the next round. What does mean? Let's just say blank. Our brain thinks easier if we just say that, right? Okay. It is blank to win the game if we want to make it to the next round. Blank to win the game? That makes no sense. Well, good thing we have a multiple choice. We can substitute or plug in the words to see if they make sense. Our brain will tell us yes or no. It is important to win the game if we want to make it to the next round. That makes sense. It is lose to win the game. That doesn't even make sense. It is fun to win the game. Okay, that makes sense in that part of the sentence, but if I continue going, it doesn't make sense anymore. It is fun to win the game if we want to make it to the next round. Nope, cancel out fun. Next one. It is relaxing to win the game if we want to make it to the next round. If we lose and we don't make it to the next round, it doesn't sound relaxing. So, what was the word that made the most sense? Important, right? It is important to lose the game. Crucial is like super important, not just important, but super important. Let's see if there's one more. I skipped this one. Let's do this one. This one's a tricky word that I have never even seen before. But this one you are going to answer telling me. So, question 9. What is the meaning of the word? The best answer. They are the children who fall out of their blank when the nurse is looking the other way. They are the children who fall out of their blank when the nurse is looking the other way. Blank most likely means baby carriages, clothing, toys, or pacifiers. Write your answer on the side. Next question. Explain how you knew. How did you figure out that that was your choice? Okay, well, because the sentence says blank, so then I knew, so then I thought, or I figured out. And we are done for today. So remember, context clues. The next assignment will be for you guys to go to iReady. There's going to be like a part 2 to context clues on there. Finish it. Last week for iReady, you had to do 20 minutes. And if you weren't done with a lesson, it was okay to stop. For this next lesson, I want you to finish, log into iReady, find the context clue lesson for you, complete the lesson. For some of you guys, it might take you, I don't know, 10 minutes. And for other people, it might take you longer. So, however long it takes you, do your best. This will be graded. You don't have to tell me your grade. The computer tells me your grade. So, try your best. This counts for a grade. And just for you to become an expert on context clues. So, let's add an extra question. True or false? This week for iReady, you have to do 20 minutes of iReady per day. True or false? We're done.